Will AI take my job? Let's be real, it's the question that's on everybody's mind. It's fueling countless headlines and, yeah, a whole lot of anxiety. But if we want a real answer, we've got to cut through all the noise and actually look at the data. And today, that is exactly what we are going to do. All right, let's just get right into it. This is the core fear, right? The question that keeps people up at night. Are we standing on the edge of some massive AI-driven unemployment cliff? It's a totally valid concern, and it deserves a serious, evidence-based look. But, before we all panic, a little humility is probably in order. As some researchers at Anthropic pointed out, we have a pretty bad track record of getting these big predictions right. I mean, think about it. Just a decade ago, experts were saying a quarter of U.S. jobs were vulnerable to being sent offshore. And what happened? Most of those jobs actually saw healthy growth. So the big takeaway here is predicting the future of work is really, really hard. Okay, so how do we avoid making those same mistakes again? Well, we can't just guess. We need a way to measure what AI is actually doing in the economy, like right now. And that right there is the real challenge. The effects of a game-changing technology like AI don't just happen overnight. They're gradual. It's like trying to hear a whisper in a hurricane of other economic stuff, like business cycles or policy changes. The problem isn't just listing what AI can do, it's figuring out if it's really doing it at scale. So, how do we get a clearer picture? We need a new framework. We need a way to separate the science fiction from the cold, hard economic facts. And this slide illustrates the key distinction perfectly. On one side, you've got theoretical capability, this giant wish list of everything an AI could possibly do. It's huge, it's impressive. But on the other, you have real-world usage, what people and companies are actually using AI for in their day-to-day work. And here's the spoiler. Those two lists are not the same, not even close. So this brings us to this really powerful new concept from the research, observed exposure. Think of it as our new, more accurate lens. It doesn't just look at what's possible. It smashes that together with data on actual, real-world professional usage. This gives us a much more grounded, realistic view of AI's actual footprint. And wow, check this out. This is where it gets really interesting. Let's take computer and math jobs, a field you'd think would be absolute ground zero for AI, right? Well, in theory, AI could impact a whopping 94% of the tasks. But the observed exposure, what's actually happening on the ground, is only 33%. That is a massive gap between the hype and the reality. Okay, so now that we have this much better tool, our observed exposure measure, we can start getting some real answers. Who is truly on the front lines of this technological shift? Which jobs, and more importantly, which people? And the data points to a pretty clear top three. Computer programmers are right at the top, with about 75% of their tasks showing real-world AI usage. They're followed pretty closely by customer service reps and data entry keyers. These are the jobs where AI is really making its biggest, most measurable inroads today. But here's the thing. Job titles are just one piece of the puzzle. Who are the actual people filling these roles? Because when we dig into the demographics, the answer is, well, it's genuinely surprising. It pretty much turns a lot of common assumptions completely on their head. Okay, so get ready for this, because whatever you thought the most at-risk worker looked like, you're probably wrong. The data shows the most exposed workers are actually higher paid, earning 47% more on average. They are 4 times more likely to have a graduate degree, and they are 16 percentage points more likely to be female. This is a very, very different picture than the one most of us have been led to believe. So, we've identified the group on the front lines. Higher paid, highly educated professionals, more often women. The big question now is, what's actually happening to their jobs? Is this where the wave of unemployment finally hits? And this is maybe the biggest surprise of all. Looking at all the data since the launch of ChatGPT, there has been absolutely no systematic increase in unemployment for these highly exposed groups. The nightmare scenario of mass layoffs, at least for now, simply hasn't happened. So we can all breathe a sigh of relief, right? Case closed. Well, maybe not so fast. Just because people aren't being laid off in droves doesn't mean nothing is changing. The real impact might be a lot more subtle. Because when you dig a little deeper, the data shows something else, something that might be a kind of early warning sign, a different kind of disruption that we really need to be paying close attention to. See, the crucial point is this. The primary effect of AI, at least for now, isn't about pushing existing workers out of their jobs. It's about making it harder for new workers to get in. The whole story isn't about layoffs. It's about hiring. 14%. That number right there represents the drop in the job finding rate for young workers. We're talking 22 to 25-year-olds trying to break into these most AI exposed fields. And a 14% drop is significant. It suggests there's a real headwind for the next generation of professionals. So let's just break that down real quick. The group feeling the pressure right now is young workers fresh out of school just entering the labor market. What's happening is a clear slowdown in hiring for these specific, highly AI-exposed jobs. And what that means, plain and simple, is that the first rung on the career ladder in fields like programming might just be getting harder and harder to reach. And that leaves us with the big, unanswered billion-dollar question. Are we just seeing a temporary dip in hiring while companies figure out how to integrate this new tech? Or is this the first tremor of a permanent structural shift in the job market that's going to reshape career paths for an entire generation? The data isn't clear yet, but you can bet it's the question we all need to be watching.